bowling. Yes, it's Bowling with the Champs. Today you'll see two outstanding bowlers from the state of Wisconsin. We're greeting you from Red Carpet Regency Lanes in Milwaukee, where the bowling center of the future is here today. Bowling with the Champs is brought to you in part by Miller Beer. Purity you can see, quality you can taste. Miller, made the American way since 1855. And by Foster Pontiac, South 27th and Loomis, for his own record so far this year, Milwaukee's #1 Pontiac dealer. Good morning, I'm Hank Stoddard, welcoming you to our 32nd consecutive year. And today we will complete, in an hour from now, the semifinal field for the men's division in our Bowling with the Champs tournament. 32 men started out, of course, in the televised portion of the show. 3 are already in the semifinals. The winner of this match today between Glenn Richgels and Daryl Meisel will go on to complete the semifinal field. Of course, the further the bowler progresses in the tournament, the more money the tournament pays him. But each Sunday, Red Carpet Lanes provides additional prize money, $50 to the winner of each game, $50 to the winner of the 3-game series, a $25 consolation prize should one of the bowlers fail to win either of the 3 games. There's $100 bonus money for a 700 series. Last week, both bowlers earned that. We have $200 bonus money for an 800 series. We've come close, but no 800 so far this year. We've also come close to having bowlers win the car for a year. That hasn't happened either, but it requires a 300 game. I didn't say Jeff Richgels. I said Glenn Richgels. I'm really in trouble. That's who, Jeff? That's his fourth cousin, Glenn Richgels. It's Jeff Richgels, of course, from Madison, who is here today. But I was talking about the car. You have to roll a 300 game in order to win it, and you get it for 1 year courtesy of Foster Pontiac. The bowler who gets the use of the car can pick the color, and it comes with a wide range of equipment: rack and pinion steering, steel belted radials. It has brakes, tail lights, front headlights, front bumper, a back bumper, lots of things. And you have to roll a perfect 300 game in order for Foster to loan it to you for a year. With us every year is Dennis Wright. He's here again this morning providing expert analysis. Dennis, every Sunday morning on a show, I say, featuring 2 outstanding bowlers from the state of Wisconsin. Could not be more true than this morning, right?
That's right. From Madison, and presently on the tour, Jeff Richgels, and of course Daryl from Muskego, I guess.
And their history, of course, has been nothing but success.
Oh, really? On the international level, the national level, ABC titles, both of them from the Faball team. And Daryl, again, having a great year, probably in the prime of his bowling career, Hank, 36, 37, somewhere in there. And Jeff, a former champion, so he knows how to win. His last outing, he was a little bit at a low, but I think his confidence level is up quite a bit since the last time we saw him.
Okay, we're expecting quite a match here again this morning, and it'll all get underway after these messages. Is bringing the ball in on lane 28, it looked like from lane 29. Gave new meaning to the word cranker. Now, these two guys this morning, Glenn Richgels turns the ball a lot, but not even as much as that.
No,
I got him, Glenn, again. Jeff Richgels. Okay, all right.
I don't think anybody turns it like Dave Albrecht does. Nobody anymore, that's for sure. Jeff, yeah, he'll cover a lot more boards than Daryl. Daryl's a conventional stroker. He's a pocket hitter, not quite the power that the crankers have, but so accurate, and a good spare bowler, and usually not many open frames, and that's been a big difference on the show.
Okay, and we have a couple of people to introduce. Our line judge today. Somebody said we should drop the word foul line, so we just call her a line judge. And that's pretty Linda O'Tucson, who is an Irish lady who's visiting us from Tucson as Linda McPherson, and she is here to study bowling with the champs. And we try to keep her away from the next fellow we're going to show you, who is our official scorekeeper, George Vales. And
hard to study him.
Yeah, George has been telling her all what goes on with our show, because they're thinking of introducing a television show like this down in Tucson, Arizona. And Daryl Meisel will start off on lane 27.
This show is the semifinals of the Bowling with the Champs in 1986-87. I got to bowl another teammate from our Kendor Fayball dynasty of the 1980s, Daryl Meisel. This was a really emotional show to watch. Daryl was sort of kind of a mentor to me. He was a real quiet guy and didn't say much, but he had been from Madison before he moved to Milwaukee. Someone we all looked up to in Madison. He's in the USBC Hall of Fame. He wasn't one that would come forth and offer things, but at times, if you asked him, he was always willing to help. And he said very little about stuff over the years, but the stuff that he did say when I did speak with him made a big impact because it was pretty profound. And of course, as many know, he later committed suicide in 1994. A heartbreaking thing. It still is tough to talk about. And I don't know what else to say here. It was really both special and very emotional and heartbreaking to watch this show. And I beat Darryl pretty handily this day. He just didn't have a very good day, and I had a really good day. I was starting to come around it again after being on tour for another month or so since the last show against Terry Coolibert, and some of the changes I was making in my game were starting to help, and I was feeling a lot more confident than I had just a month or a few weeks earlier, and was looking forward to things going forward. I think you can see in the bounce in my step here, and bowled a real good match that day. In retrospect, I kind of almost wish I would have lost and Darryl would have gone on to win, and who knows. But love you, Darryl, and I hope everybody that watches this show who remembers him will enjoy it, seeing the opportunity to see him again. Thanks much.
Not anywhere as many as Richgels, and nothing like last week with Dave Albrecht. Here's Jeff's approach.
And Richgels will go over some of them twice. He goes in and out and then back in again. On the other hand, Darryl a little straighter. At any rate, both of them are perfect so far. 4 for Jeff, 3 for Darryl. So much different Jeff Richgels than a few weeks ago.
And it's going to come down to carrying again, I would think, Dennis.
Usually does when you have good scoring conditions and a pocket that's, if you have talent, of course, somewhat easy to hit. Not that time.
Yeah, you still have to throw it. And that one there didn't make it fully into the pocket for Darryl Meisel, and he leaves up the 1, the 2. No, he leaves up the 2, the 4, and the 5. Here's Darryl's approach.
A very simple 4-step delivery. And a very classic one. Not a big backswing, as we've said before. Pretty good follow through, but not overextended. And watch that all the way.
Yeah, he was concerned that he was going to chop and maybe leave the 5, but he did carry all 3, so he has 77 in the 3rd, a spare up in the 4th. Jeff Richgels, who is bowling right now, is perfect through 4 frames. 5th frame, still perfect.
Changing.
Well, Jeff had 11 in a row on our show over 2 games earlier this season, and of course is in line for that trip courtesy of Hughes Travel.
Yeah, he had 11 in a row and 10 in a row in the same series, Hank, and you'd say that should produce a pretty good number, and it did. And a nice loose carry there, 793. Jeff's opening 3-game set, which is high for the year.
Yeah, almost an 800 series from Jeff Richgels that day. 793 on games of 238, 266, 289. Somebody knocks off the 793 but have the high single. And there's the carrying bit we talked about. Every once in a while, that 6-pin flies high over the 10 for those pocket hitters and results in no strike, as happened there. And Darryl with a strike up in the 6th, bowling the 7th frame. No, well, he got, last time in that lane he left 3 of them there, and this time just the 5-pin.
Similar hits, 2, 4, 5, as you said. This time, oh, and he stuck, but I think he stayed behind the line.
Did a little dance for Linda out there.
So a simple 5-pin conversion would leave Darryl 22 pins behind in game 1.
He has it. 117 through 5 frames. Spare up in the 6th for Darryl Meisel. Glenn Richgels 139 in the 5th frame, spare up in the 6th, both coming up to bowl the 7th frame. Were you right on Daryl's age when you mentioned it off the top of your head?
39. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, 39 years old.
Okay.
He's going to hit that magic 4-0 this year. And that one a little light also in the same lane. Did he stick again? Looked like it.
It did a little jump there.
And you know, he had trouble the last time he bowled sticking a bit.
Left the 2, almost the 2-8. Something kicked the 8 out of there. It was almost a railroad. And here's Darryl with a strike and a chance to, of course, extend it to a double or a turkey and whittle down that deficit.
Are you ready for the 29th of May?
The 29th of May.
11:30 a.m. at Bolero.
What's happening?
Senior Olympics. You know, we have that challenge match, and you kind of let that slip away last year, Hank.
And let's see here what happened to Jeff.
Well, I don't know. His left foot looked all right. He kind of lost his balance, I think.
Could be. I had that in the back of my mind for a long time, and I'm going to have to tell you something after we watch. Now, a lazy 6-pin there. I know we bowl against these other guys from the media and all that, and last year you weren't there, and I had our Erling Fuller, and we lost for the first time ever. But you're going to have to find somebody, probably George.
Oh, really?
I'm going to be in Canada that day.
Oh, George.
I'm going up to see my mama.
Well, that's nice. I don't know if I can carry George. Kind of heavy. And Kathy Michelby, did she take home the prize?
Yeah, Channel 12's Kathy Michelby. We got to get her a legitimate. They started doing it on handicap, and that's what killed us last year. So you check out her entering average. If they put her down again for like 80 average or 100 average, she's far better than that.
I'm sure.
Check with the handicapper. Jeff Richgels, right lane, all gone.
All gone, and now working on 240, 30-some pin advantage, and a nice foundation in the 9th frame. You could stretch this game out to 268. Not a bad opener. That would require 3 more strikes and would behoove Darryl to pop one in here.
No.
Again, that half hit.
Yeah, similar to the one on the other lane that we just saw in the 8th frame. 10 pins standing in the 9th for Darryl Meisel.
And 32 pins down, and he does not have one to go into the 10th frame with, a strike that is, so he's opening the door a little more for Jeff Richgels, and be careful of that one.
He got it. He did get it.
He really did, and he just got it.
I tell you what, if the lanes were about 3 inches longer or 6 inches longer, it might not have. It looked like it was heading off into the channel, but it just ticked the outside of the pin before it did head into the deep pit behind her. All the pins are in that deep pit on that one from Jeff Richgels.
And he's got a little animation back. And well, when you're shooting 268, I suppose it's a little easier to jump around. Darryl would like to pop 220 here. He needs a double in the 10th. There's a good ball. That one finished real nice. Could go to 226.
Winner of today's match between Darryl Meisel of Muskego and Jeff Richgels of Madison will advance to the semifinals, and the opponent will be Gary Darashevsky. Jeff Richgels continues to strike. The other semifinalists are Jeff Nimke of Oshkosh against Niall Konachek. Lives in Franklin, has the bowling lanes in Wind Lake, says, call me out of Wind Lake. I'll go along with that. Now, half of Wind Lake comes to see him bowl, so. And you could tell Darryl didn't like that as he let it go, and it was similar to 2 other balls he has thrown.
A little bit light in the pocket, did not finish, and actually that lane finishes a little harder. Sometimes you compensate for that and actually throw the ball a little light, and he's got a string going.
Yeah, Jeff Richgels finishes this game with a 266, and Darryl Meisel with a spare for 216. So it's a 50-pin lead for Jeff Richgels over Darryl Meisel. But I would remind you that about 4 weeks ago on this show, Ivy Morehouse led by exactly 50 pins after one game over Jeff Nimke. And it's Jeff Nimke in the semifinals, not Ivy Morehouse. So
by 71 pins.
yes. So leads can change. We'll be back with game number 2 after some messages. Well, it's 268 to 216, a 52-pin lead for Jeff Richgels after one game. And I ask you, Dennis, have you ever seen a more handsome group of people than this?
Oh, that's dynamite.
Now, these people, and we're missing one.
Somebody's got to go to the bar.
These are 5 seniors, sexy seniors from Fond du Lac, they tell me. They drove down to watch our show. Hello, Fond du Lac. Okay. All right. And we're ready to go here in game number 2 on lanes 27 and 28. Our leader, Jeff Richgels, on the left lane, 27. Pulled a lot of strikes that first game. And this time gets a strange lead. The 2, the 8, and the 10. Makeable, but not likely.
Not likely, and you see it on a light pocket hit. And Brett Faulkner looking on.
Corner man.
Also a fab ball bowler. A little more speed. He didn't like it, though, at all. Almost got a break on the cross.
He didn't even stay watching to see what happened.
That's right. He knew he pulled it.
Overcompensation, perhaps, after not quite getting it up in the pocket a couple of times, not landing. Jeff did about all you can do in that one, is get the 2 and the 8 out of there and get a 9 count in the first frame and regroup. And his opponent has a spare.
So he didn't like it, but he picked up 11 pins. And
how many strikes did Jeff have?
Jeff had 10, Hank. 2 spares back to back. He had a light pocket hit and left a good ringing 10 pin. So he had 11 good balls. And Darrell 6 after a turkey start. Never improved on that. Ended up with 216. Nice opener, but trailing by 5 marks, 4 now after the open.
And here comes Jeff in his opening round match. He won over Gene Chouette of let's see, by a score of 793 to 593. So Jeff was really on in that game. Here's Darrell Meisel, and he's up to bowl on the left lane. And before the game started, we asked these 2 bowlers, as we have in this round, their opinion on the short oiling process that's been used this year. Should it continue? And here's what Darrell said.
Personally, I'm not in favor of the short oil. Even though I'm averaging higher on it this year, I do believe that it cheapens all the honor scores that are shot.
Okay, the opinion from Darrell. He says the short oiling conditions have made scores higher, including his. We had a couple on last week that said their scores were lower.
And they were in favor of it, and boy, that's unusual.
Unlikely from Darrell Meisel, a single pin miss.
And I don't know, again, if he was having trouble sliding. He took a practice slide as he came back on the approach, but he seldom misses single pins.
And watch Jeff get a strike, and he also comments on the short oil conditions.
My personal feeling on the short oil rule, and I think it's shared by many top bowlers, is that it's bad for the sport of bowling while it might be good for the recreation of bowling. I think it's taken away a little bit from the talent requirements and the skill requirements of bowling, and I think that's wrong. It may be good for high scores and in the short term, but I don't think it's good for the long-term success of the sport of bowling, especially now that we're trying to get into the Olympics as a full medal sport.
Well, you get a detailed opinion from Jeff Richgels, and there's some merit in what he says.
No doubt about it, and it's hard to separate the recreational part of it from the sport part of it. That's the problem through the last few years.
Oh! What did we have there for a moment?
We had the 410, that's right.
And something knocked them both down. You know, Jeff in college was a writer, too, for one of the Madison papers, and won an award from the ABC for one of the articles he wrote on bowling. So he is not only a bowler, he's a spokesman for the sport of bowling, and we'll watch how in the world he got the 4 and the 10 out of here.
Yeah, it didn't look like a nose hit for a pocket for a split.
There's a 4 and 10.
But they're both up, and now both down, and a turkey.
And Darrell on that spare this time. So Darrell has gone 19, then the open, then a strike, then a spare. So he has 48 in the third and a spare up in the fourth. Jeff opened in the first frame as a result of a split, but since then has rolled 3 consecutive strikes, and he's trying to make it a 4-bagger here. No 10-pin.
But after an open frame in the first, he's tacked on 20 more pins to his lead. Now there's a good effective ball by Darrell Meisel, one of his best.
Well, Gloria Bear's going to be mad at me because I did agree. I said, oh, yeah, I'll be there on May 29th. In fact, she lined that thing up about for the open the Senior Olympics. We've opened it every year. About 5 months ago, I've had it in my files. But not only going up there just to see my mother, but I'm speaking at a dinner up there in Canada for a hockey team I used to be associated with, which is celebrating its 40th or 50th anniversary. So
the seniors will forgive you this year.
They'll forgive
Hank.
me this year. Okay.
You've been a pretty good participant through the years.
Good mix for Jeff Richgels. And we've got another lead for Richgels, or extending his lead. He's leading in this game as well as having led in the first game. And Darrell's going to have to start doing better than that. That ball was a little slow, I thought, Dennis.
A little slow, and you pay for it usually. And he has, and really bowling a poor game. After he missed that 10-pin, he came back with a strike and then a kind of a wobbly 4. So, and he did what a lot of the good bowlers do, is throw a lot of speed and straight at those tough splits and hope you get a carom.
That's about the only thing I was doing right all my career, I guess, huh?
That, yes.
I said about the only thing. Well, Jeff put it where he wanted to, but the 10-pin wouldn't go down.
Well, gives Darrell a bit of a reprieve, trailing by 32 in this game. He's certainly capable of stringing them, so he's not out of it yet. And again, a good light hit.
It'll be interesting to see if Linda, our foul judge today, or line judge today, and her cohorts down there in Tucson get that bowling show like ours underway in Arizona. He held on to get that spare. If they can stick around 32 years like we have, I guess it'll be worthwhile. Use 6 shooters. Glenn says I use 6 shooters down there in Arizona. We were asking her some questions because we're a bit curious and not sure we know all the answers. She knows all the answers. Are there as many quality bowlers who would go into a show like that in Arizona as there are here? We know one thing. Wayne Zahn, the former Wisconsin bowler, has lanes in Tempe, Arizona, a Phoenix suburb. Oh, well, there's a split for Jeff.
Yeah, Wayne's been down there quite a while. Running bowling. He owns bowling lanes down
And
there.
of course, one bit of advice we gave to Linda was get a hold of Leo Pack, who was in
Absolutely.
Chandler there, for some advice. Now Jeff gets the 2 on the left side. We can bring up to date in his score. 116 in the 7th, and that's Darrell's score, and 154 through 8 for Jeff as a result of that open.
You know, we were talking about bowling grips, Hank, in the last round. We asked a lot of our good bowlers. A lot of them mentioned a relaxed fingertip, and reading the Bowler's Journal, I find out the Pro Tour bowlers are having a lot of success with a fingertip on the middle finger and a semi-fingertip grip on the ring finger. Seems to be working. It's kind of a semi-relaxed fingertip.
He did
No,
that.
sir.
He did that in warm-up, that pocket 710. We saw it last week from Dave Albrecht.
And he's had it on the show
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple of times,
Yeah.
and a result of a strong finishing ball. We talked about it, and actually opening the door a little bit here for Darrell Meisel, who could, with a double, just about tie this game up and go back to the 52-pin deficit.
Now we'll see it. That
Watch
first
the
ball.
5-pin go right in front of the 7. There's the 5. Well, it actually went behind it. Ooh.
Yeah.
Tricky. Double here for the lead in game 2. Better speed. Will it hold it? Ooh, just a little
he got-
nudgy high.
Yeah. The 4 and the 7 up for a while. The 7 went down. The 4 wiggled, but it would not go down. And back-to-back opens by Jeff are going to make his bid for bonus money a little more difficult. Add on now a ringing 10-pin, because he is going to be in the 180s probably.
He'll need that spare to win game number 2, $50. Add a couple pins on to his lead. He throws it pretty straight at the 10-pin. Kind of kills it, and good cover.
Jeff's an emotional type. 183 if he brings in a strike. And Darrell here, 176. That's what he's got. 176 in game number 2 for Darrell Meisel. So if you were thinking sitting at home the last few weeks, boy, all you have to do is put the ball down and you roll 250. Not true. We've got 2 of the best bowlers in the state bowling right here now on the same lanes. And a 176 for Darrell Meisel and a 182 for Jeff Richgels. So after 2 games, Richgels still in command, extending his margin unofficially 450 to Darrell Meisel's 392. We'll be back with game number 3, which will determine which bowler advances to the semifinals after these brief messages. 82 game, well below par for him, has added to his lead. 6 more pins up to 58 going into game number 3. But if you're watching last week, you saw how quickly things could change. Gary Darashevsky lost 38 pins, I think it was, or 32 pins in 3 frames despite getting 2 strikes. He had a strike in the first and the third, but a big open in the second frame, and his opponent Dave Albrecht had 3 strikes. In fact, went on to make it at least 4, and it narrowed the gap. As it turned out, Darashevsky then went on a rampage and struck 9 in a row to make it all academic. But it can change in a hurry, and I guess the point is 58 pins is not a safe lead with this caliber of bowler. And he's just lost some of them already.
Yeah, he went to the nose, actually broke up a split, leaving the 6-10. Opponent with a strike working and a chance to get 10 back. Jeff, 84-85 champion, beating Jeff Henry in the finals 2 years ago. And he covered that nicely.
And this year, as I was telling you earlier, he had that 793 series and then a 614 as he beat Terry Coolibert. His opponent here today, Darrell Meisel, shot 687 in beating Rich Wonders in the opening round, and then knocked off Lenny Borsch with a 705. And he's not likely to hit 705 here today.
And Jeff with a strike, but again having a little trouble with the sliding foot, shaking his head, and I don't know, I think they're wearing the wrong shoes. Darrell taking a little bit of a practice slide.
Jeff's going to need what, 240?
250,
250,
right in the head.
yeah, to get bonus money today, a 700 service.
Darrell doesn't use a lot of the approach with his 4-step delivery, rather short. And the last one with a little lane. Oh, that was a bad break. Better ball than the first one. And
yeah, he was running that one out.
Jack Ellis looking on.
Light 10 pin has been his problem. That's the first 7 pin we've had here today.
So a chance to get the 10 back. He couldn't carry it.
It's a very similar shot to the one Gary Darashevsky rolled with his last ball last week, where he left a 7 pin, and it would have given him 10 in a row had he carried that 7 pin, and he would have been our new leader for the longest string of strikes in one game. As it is, he's in a 3-way tie with John Megna and Jim Albrecht. The high eligible single, somewhere I have that here. Let's see, who is that? Well, I'll find it later. I got too many papers. The high 3, of course, is that high eligible single is the 279 by Niall Konachek.
Going a little bit along with what Jeff Richgels said, Hank, are players using their full talents as Jeff is up there trying to add to his lead if he doubles? And no, sir. And the fellow that does the lane dressing, Lon Marshall for the PBA, will not use the short oil. He feels that the equipment is giving the young bowlers too much of an advantage, and the, as they call it, LDD, limited dressing, or what the heck does that stand for? Limited dressing, LDD. I'll find it here someplace. At any rate, he feels that the kids are brighter and stronger, but they're really not bowling up to their potential.
LDD stands for lane dressing, dummy.
Limited lane dress, that's it. Why should we swing for a 400-foot fence when they're bringing in the fences to 150 feet? I guess that's trying to relate to baseball, huh?
I'm not sure there's an analogy there, but We almost had another 7-10 pocket split from Jeff Richgels.
He has that opportunity at times.
10 was the last one to go down. A 7 is still up there.
So at any rate, pros and cons, I guess, depending what category of bowler you're in. And of course, the proprietor has a big stake in it. He is definitely, the proprietor is the one happy person with the, not the one, but one of the happiest with the lane dressing, because it gives them a place to start as far as checking lanes for honor scores.
Harold Meisel, right lane, 4th frame. A double here would help.
Got to start striking. Got to start, and again.
Another 7.
And this one a little light again, and the ball not sharp, breaking sharply on the end to carry out those end pins.
Well, Glenn Richgels had left him an opening here because in the first 4 frames of game number 3, 3 spares and a strike. But Darrell's gone strike, spare, strike, spare. Yep, through the first 4. We're going into the 5th frame of the 3rd game, and of course that means it's Miller time. Miller High Life presents special awards to bowlers who get strikes in the 5th frame of the 3rd game, and in the 3rd round, the special award you see right there, the Miller umbrella. It's a cafe patio umbrella. If you happen to own a cafe patio. Or even if the roof starts to leak.
Well, you didn't have any 7 pins. We've got our share this game. 3 of them alone for Darrell.
In the last 4 frames, how in the world all of a sudden do 7 pins pop up?
Now, just a light hit that's not getting a full advantage of the mix, and the ball not real effective at this point. Still not completely gone, but is running out of frames.
Well, let's see if Jeff can win one of those umbrellas. Coming into the pocket. There they go.
There's the umbrella.
You know, the year he won on our show, what, 84, 85, you said? I think he won the Miller Prize every round. He's got an assortment of Miller equipment at home. Now he's got an umbrella.
Funny statistic, in spite of great scoring the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the high team 3-game series has never been knocked off, and the high 3 individual series still stands from many, many years ago. Really doesn't make sense, does it?
Are you talking about the ABC tournament?
Well, no, I'm talking about league scores.
Oh, okay.
Ollie Brandt, I think, has 886.
Darrell just really having trouble finding the range here.
Really, ball not finishing well. And I think the highest 3-game team total in league is by the Budweisers of St. Louis at about 38-40 in that area someplace.
Of course, we do know that, what was it, about 3 years ago now, a fellow named Glenn Allison rolled a 900 in league play.
That's right.
And it was disallowed by the American Bowling Congress to the chagrin of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Well, double and a lead in game 3 for Jeff Richgels, so Darrell just looks like he's going to the sidelines.
Been on our show just about every year. Has never won it.
Good snap on that one. Let's see what happens. Oh, he ripped a 5 out this time, not the 10-pin. Got a little more loft in it, and sometimes that gives you a little delayed finish and more action right at the pocket.
Tell me, you with the great arithmetic mind, can Mr. Richgels still roll 700?
Yes, he can.
Okay. And a reminder that we have the semifinals, of course, to complete in the men's division, and then the men's championship final live on June 13th here at Red Carpet Regency Lane, 7 o'clock in the evening. And the winner of that, $6,000. We invite you to come on down, as they say on television, that night, 7 o'clock, June 13th, for the men's championship final. The week before, Saturday night, June 6th, live at Red Carpet Regency, the women's championship finals. And of course, we already have our finalists determined among the ladies. Jill Albrecht of Burlington against Kathy Vugrich of Milwaukee for the women's title and $1,000. And a 4-pin lead there for Jeff after a double. And I ask you again, can he still make 700?
The answer has changed dramatically.
No, now. Huh?
No.
Okay. Well, he's doing a little adagio routine there sometimes when he lets the ball go, but
Yeah, let's see, Jeff, 178, 238's his best. That would give him 688. And kind of a funny series, actually. Bowled good for a while, then he was off again. Darrell, on the other hand,
Struggling.
Ball not finishing real well.
So it will be Jeff Richgels against Gary Darashevsky. And Gary with good series all three times, 708, 751, 756. So Jeff's going to have to be hot to beat Gary Darashevsky and go on to the finals against either Jeff Nimke or Niall Konachek. We had in the men's division, when the season started, 2,564 bowlers. And now we're down, after this match is completed, to just 4. And a reminder that if you want to get into next year's tournament, you're running out of time, end of this month. The closing date for qualifications, first round for next year for Bowling with the Champs. And I opened up Dennis Wright's pre-match prediction. He predicted Darrell Meisel, and it is a loss today for Dennis. And your record drops to
23 and 11.
23 and 11. And this one's all over but the congratulations.
You know, years ago, Hank, Bowling with the Champs, in fact, a lot of the state bowlers used to complain it was dominated too much by Milwaukee bowlers. And if you look at the 4 semifinalists, I don't think we've got a Milwaukee bowler among the 4, do we?
Well, people could make an argument that Niall Konachek is, you know, a Milwaukee area.
Right.
He lives in Franklin, but his bowling alleys are in Wind Lake. Jeff Nimke's from Oshkosh. Gary Darashevsky is a Milwaukeean who works out of Fort Atkinson. And then we've got Jeff Richgels from Madison. So you're right. And the state has been well represented this year, as Jeff gets a strike starting off the 10th frame. We've had them from all over the place. Racine and Kenosha area's been well represented in recent years. We've had people from Oshkosh had, what, 3 bowlers in the men's division this year?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Got Burlington, of course, in there in the women's final. So all around at least the southern half of the state, there's been representation. Richgels with another strike. And that 4-pin in the 8th frame is what's going to cost him his 700 series today. And Darrell, a ringing 10 that time. Nothing light about that one. So, you know, he has gone now 7 frames without a strike, Darrell Meisel, which is an unlikely turn of events. And check on the approaches. It would appear the approaches are a little sticky. At least they are for these 2 bowlers.
And he's going to be under 600, Darrell Meisel, 580 something to 688 for Jeff. And not a real good 688, although the numbers aren't bad.
238 is third game. And there, where was it all day? Darrell's smiling a little. He purred one in there perfectly with the last ball to get a 176 for unofficially 584. And Dustin, who is how old now, Darrell?
14 weeks.
14 weeks old. Dustin Meisel gets a check. Well, Dad can handle it there. $1,000 for the from the tournament itself, and that'll buy a few pairs of shoes for Dustin. Darrell, that third game, when you had a chance, it looked like he was struggling just a little bit. Just couldn't seem to get the ball, and then with the last ball of the match, perfect. What was the problem there?
I don't know. It just seemed like whenever I made an adjustment to find one lane, I'd lose the other one, and I just couldn't find that in between today.
Oh, Dustin doesn't like it up here. There, that'll satisfy him. But you were leaving 10 pins, and then all of a sudden started leaving 7 pins. Well, what would cause the 7 pin to pop up all of a sudden?
The ball just coming in too late behind the head pin. I was trying to get in the oil and be a little slower, and that's usually not what I do best. So it just didn't work.
Well, we congratulate you on making the show. It seems you make it almost every year, and Joe says every time we expect to see you next year. I think it's particularly true in your case. Anything you want to say before you move out of here with Dustin?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody who came down, and also I'd like to say a special hi to Carol's grandmother in River Hills East, who's in the nursing home there.
Okay, thank you very much, Darrell. And here's Jeff, and we don't know how much money he's got going to get from this tournament. What, 2-3 years ago you went all the way to the championship final. What do you think of the field that's left against you? 3 pretty good bowlers there.
Well, this is quite a field this year, and the scores are so high it's almost impossible to predict what's going to happen. I don't know. I didn't think if I would have shot 680 today, I really didn't think that would have been enough to win, but it was. It turned out that way. Darrell just couldn't seem to carry, and that's the way it worked out. Everybody else seems to be shooting 750 and 770. I'm just going to have to come and give it my best shot.
We never know from one week to another, but one thing we seem to know about you is that at least once an appearance you leave that 710. What causes that 710?
I don't know. If I could figure it out, I'd change it and I wouldn't leave it anymore. That's just kind of my red carpet Regency trait. It's no big deal. It happens. If you win, you can't complain about that, that's for sure. I certainly had better carry and better luck than Darrell today.
We've asked all the bowlers about the short oil conditions. We're getting varying opinions, and some like yourself seem to feel, and Darrell today, that it maybe favors the young bowler and gives him maybe higher scores than he may deserve at that stage of his career. But on the Pro Tour, they're not using it. Might it be accurate to say that the short oil condition favors the cranker, but out in the Pro Tour, they're favoring the stroker? Is that true?
That's very much what's going on the tour this year. If you see like Dave Ferraro, Pete McCordick, you see a lot more straighter players than you used to. You haven't seen Mark Baker on the show this year at all. And it just seems to be. They're all in like 35, 40 feet down there, and you can't just crank it up and throw it to the right. I'm living proof of that. I've been practicing trying to get my game straighter, and hopefully I can do better this year on the summer tour than I did on the winter. I know back home in league, it's hard for me to come here and try and bowl on this and have to swing it when I'm trying to practice and gear my game to throw straighter. So it's kind of just a shot for me. I really don't feel comfortable in this condition, and I don't like the short oil myself.
Well, we'll see if how well you handle the conditions here in the semifinals. We want to congratulate you on getting this far again, Jeff, and we'll see you a couple of weeks from now.
Thanks.